all throughout my 20s, I thought I didn't have to worry about love, that I could just go about, do my thing, and one day I would open the door and there'd be a man on a white horse there, and he would sweep me off my feet, and we'd go to the Caribbean and have sex on a few beaches, and then come home and settle down and have 2 kids named Maisie and Atticus and start looking for charter schools that they could go to. You know, it's the American dream. But as I got into my mid-30s, I looked around and realized that nearly everyone I knew was coupled up and I wasn't. And that suddenly the only straight single men that I knew were my cousins. And while I am from Ohio, I am not from that part of Ohio. And I realized that I needed to really start taking extraordinary measures, and that is when I started online dating. And you guys, when I discovered online dating, I felt like I had discovered a boyfriend catalog. Like the internet was like the Sears wish book. It had everything I wanted in it. And I was gonna try on every last make and model and be as specific as possible and get the thing that I wanted. And more than that, I was gonna be so good at it. I was gonna win internet dating. I was gonna be generous and give people the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time I was gonna have rules and boundaries and limitations, and I was gonna stick to them, and I was gonna win. At the end of the day, I was gonna win. But as we all know, there are rules you have to observe when you're dating online, or dating anywhere, but especially online. And this is a story about how I learned these rules and broke them. The number one rule, as we all know, with any acquaintance, but especially someone that you're meeting for a date, is that you must Google them. Google is very, very important. And I did Google David. I did Google Bachelor #1, but he had a very, very generic name. He worked for himself, so he didn't have a LinkedIn profile or Facebook or anything. And, you know, he was really tall and cute, and he played the guitar, and I liked all those things. And I thought, you know what? I need to just give this a chance. Not everyone is shady. What was the foreshadowing? And so we were dating for about a month, and things were going pretty well. You know, I liked him, I was feeling it. And then one day, I was at a work happy hour, and I got an email from someone I don't know with a subject line, "Ladies, beware, David Smith is not who you think he is." And I was like, oh, this probably not gonna be good. And I opened it up, and there were pictures of my new boyfriend, David, with this woman who turned out to be his allegedly non-existent wife. She had written this email and copied me and several other ladies, letting us know that David, her husband, was not actually named David, and not actually self-employed, but a stay-at-home dad who was supposed to be taking care of his kids, when he was instead having all these affairs under his fake davidsmith@gmail account, and she had found the email account and blown the whole thing up, and this was the result. And I was horrified on like 157 levels. I mean, there are levels of ickiness here that we could just talk about for the rest of my life, but what I really was upset about is that I did not trust, I broke the number one rule. It's like Google doesn't exist for a reason, you know what I mean? Like, these days, when I date someone, if I talk to you for 5 minutes on OkCupid, I'm like the NSA, I have tapped your phone. Don't think I haven't, I'm a Google ninja. I know about your ex-wife and where she went to school, what she looks like, why you broke up, everything. Because I will never make the David mistake again. And the other rule that David highlighted is that you must date men who are single. And I knew that going into it, and David, just highlighted it for me, but what I didn't learn until I met Adam was the nuance that people have different definitions of single. So, when I met Adam, he was separated, going through a divorce, and he had been married to his college sweetheart, and I was the very first person that he had dated since they split up. And at the time, I thought this was a real benefit. I thought that he was like this treasure that was out there in the world that no one else knew about, and I had found him, and he was gonna be mine, all mine, and I was crazy about him. Like, he gave me butterflies like I haven't felt since I was 14 years old. I was completely smitten. And he was also kind of a sad little puppy, you know? But they say that in every relationship there's a gardener and a flower, and I knew that I was the gardener and Adam was the flower, and I was gonna heal him with the magic balm of my love. And that once I did, when this divorce was over, he was gonna be begging me to meet my mother and start looking at charter schools for Maisie and Atticus, and it was all gonna roll from there, and I just knew it. But I was also pretty naive about, as someone who has never been married, I thought that divorced and separated were the same thing. You know, like your temporary license tags are the same as your permanent license plate. Like, you've said what you're gonna do, you've paid your money, you've notified the state, and now you're just waiting for like some magical sign off from above, and it's exactly the same, but it turns out it's not exactly the same. And that while I was really worried about what the color schemes in Maisie and Atticus' bedroom were gonna be like, Adam was really arguing with his soon-to-be ex-wife about like whose turn it was to mow the lawn and what the terms of their custody arrangement were going to be, and he was not quite extricated. And the upshot is, after I helped him pick out new glasses, new high thread count sheets, and like we went out to celebrate his divorce the day it happened, he left me because if you are someone's crutch, they don't necessarily want you around once their injury heals. Their crutch is kind of a bad reminder of that. So the truth is, good for me, I actually did heal him with the power of my love, but the bad news is I kind of worked myself out of a job in the process. So that sucked. But even after that, I was so committed. I was still, and that was a big heartbreak, but I was like, you know what? This dating thing, it's a game. You cannot play if you don't win. And it's a numbers thing. Someone gave me this. I didn't understand it, but it's like a football or a baseball analogy. Like you can miss and miss and miss and miss, but you get the one home run. That's all you need, right? That's all you need. Maybe it was football. It was something like that, but I believe it. And so I went back out there, and this is where Brian comes into the picture. And Brian was like no one else I had ever dated. First of all, he was a real grown-up. He was like 10 years older than me, and he had a big, real job, and he owned his own house, and 2 big points in his favor: he existed online, he had a Facebook page and everything, and he had never been married, which I was really happy to hear, and he wanted the same things I wanted. He wanted a serious relationship, he wanted some kids, he knew what a charter school was, like he lived in the city. It was good, it was going really well, but as much as my head knew that Brian was a good person, and like my heart was kind of open to the possibility. The entire time we were dating, my vagina was really explicit about the fact that we did not want to see Brian naked under any circumstances, ever, at all. Nothing, no please, thank you, no. So I tried to really talk myself into it because he had all the right stuff. He like said all the right things. He was like, Cara, as we get older, adult relationships are about compromise. And I was like, yeah, that's how adults talk about love. It's about compromise. That's what it is. He's like, and I really like you, and I think we want the same things. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But I still couldn't quite get there. And then, so I kept breaking up with him. He kept coming back. And one night he IM'd me, and he said, Cara, I know how important it is for you to have kids, and that's something I want too. And I just want to say that at this point in your life, if you want to have kids, you probably don't have time to wait. Like, your eggs are dying. And I was like, well, that's not the sexiest thing anyone's ever said to me, but he does make a good point, I guess. So I'm still trying to get there, right? And I go into work the next day, and I log on to Huffington Post like I do before I do any real work, because that's what everyone does. And I see this headline that says, Senior congressional staffer arrested trying to bring marijuana into House office building. And I was like, why would I think that was Brian? As far as I know, he doesn't. Why would that? But you also, in addition to your head and your heart and your vagina, you also have to listen to your gut. And so when I clicked into that link, sure enough, there he was, Mr. Adult Compromise, the 45-year-old pot smoker who was so fucking stupid that he took his marijuana with him into the House office building, where if you've ever been in one of these things, you have to go through security like 30 times. And that's when I decided that maybe internet dating wasn't for me, and that I should get my own white horse and ride it to the Shady Grove fertility clinic and freeze my eggs until somebody comes up with a better system. Thank you.